The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
I will go ahead and be frank with you. I have been in sports broadcasting in some shape, form, or fashion since 1996. And for most of those years, I would enter a program in January, and especially after a bowl game, and say, we've got great things to talk about. We've got the basketball balls. We've got the lady balls. We've got recruiting. But it really wasn't true half the time because you had goofball head coaches there and a lot of transition with the lady balls program. But I will tell you now, with the transfer portal, with two very exciting basketball teams, there are a ton of things to talk about. Also, we'll address Tennessee in the portal, why I think they are going to be very good in the portal. The Vols also pick up a commitment. Tyron Evans, we'll discuss him. Jaden Rashada, you remember the Florida quarterback that can't find a home? He is back in the portal this day in Tennessee sports history. We'll visit with Jacob Warren, former Tennessee tight end. How close are the Vols after he's watched the college football playoff? And Tennessee beats Arkansas over the weekend. John Calipari has some gripes, and the Lady Vols do stumble and fall over the weekend, but I still like this Kim Caldwell team. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I'm rolling, Dave. How are you?
Rolling, absolutely. I thought that was a drug reference. But anyway, do you let's hope you're not rolling this early in the morning. But Caleb, I'm curious, does it feel like 2025 to you? Because it feel like 2024 was about a blink. You had a kid, so I don't know what it felt like to you, but it had to be interesting.
It's crazy to me to think that we're closer to 2050 than we are the new millennium now. We're closer to 2050 than we were 2000.
Crazy. Hit the like and subscribe button now. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. How about this? Your son is closer to 1 year old than he was being born.
I know. He turned 7 months 2 days ago, guys.
Happy birthday, Quincy Caleb. All right, we've got a lot to get to on the program. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to ask today's tough question. I would like to make that a poll question, and then we'll address the message board here momentarily. Today's tough question is right now, and it's brought to you by our fantastic buddy T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right. I was asking Caleb before the program, and I would like to make this a poll question. Tennessee's transfer portal future. Will it result in great success? Will it result in a modicum amount of success? You're going to have to find better words, Caleb. Or are you concerned about the transfer portal? So Tennessee only has one transfer portal player in now, but that's not surprising. That usually happens this month. So, Caleb, let me get your thoughts. And I know you've read my column, and that's on offthehooksports.com. But let me get your thoughts as far as Tennessee in the transfer portal. Let's do it this way. How about the poll question will be this? How much faith do you have in Josh Heupel to build a strong transfer portal class? So, Caleb, where would you rank on that? What are your thoughts? Where will Tennessee end up when we're all transfer portaled out? Where will the Vols end up?
So let's talk the two layers of the transfer portal here. And by the way, the poll question I set up is this: Tennessee's transfer portal will end in great success, modest success, or concern. There's two parts to the transfer portal, Dave. It's not just who you add,
That's
who you
probably
lose.
the first and last time you've used modicum this week. Go ahead.
I said modest. I did not say modicum. I said modest.
Okay.
It's not just who you add, it's who you lose. And I want to say up front, so in case you didn't notice, Tennessee lost 3 transfers to Florida State over the weekend. Players who hit the portal, Squirrel White's now at Florida State, Jason Jenkins, and I believe one other. You guys can correct me on the message board who it is. The freak out over the portal has been insane. With the exception of Squirrel White, Dave, who did Tennessee lose that you thought had a chance of starting next year?
Well, nobody. And let's keep in mind that Squirrel White had a very troublesome shoulder. So I'm not saying that they let him go because of medical, but that shoulder injury never went away. And Caleb, they kept playing him like they weren't concerned for long term. I'm not saying they showed him the door, but I don't think they're having a crying session because he's gone.
Exactly. And there's nobody they're having a crying session because they're gone. There's about 17 players now who have entered the portal. Not one of them is going to be worth a crying session. They've added one player.
Squirrel's the closest. Squirrel's the closest,
Squirrel's
right?
the closest. Yes.
Especially because Tennessee only has, 3 scholarship. They've got 3 scholarship receivers.
And 3
right now, and they got 3 coming in.
Yes. It was a blow over the weekend when Zacharias Branch committed to Georgia. That was. Tennessee wanted him, the USC transfer receiver. But they're still fine. Also, Dave, let's just take it. We just bring Squirrel White, Wendell Moe. Would you not take that trade? Lose Squirrel White, pick up Wendell Moe to fill up a guard position when you're losing 2 guards? I would
not. I would not. You know, I may differ on that. Because of Tennessee's lack of depth at receiver, I would not take Wendell Moe over Squirrel White. I see where you're going, but I can't roll with you on that one quite.
Yeah, see, I'm breaking with you. I would absolutely take Wendell Moe over Squirrel White. Now, let's talk about
For those that don't know, how good is Wendell Moe as far as he's considered in the transfer?
He was all Pac-12 as a freshman. He played this year a little bit banged up, and it was in a new system at Arizona State. At Arizona. It was a lot of things were going wrong in the system he was in this year. He had bad coaching, and so it was not the system he committed to. So I think Wendell Moe is going to be totally fine when he comes to Tennessee. So that's a fair trade-off. Guys, I'm saying all this to quote the great Aaron Rodgers, who's no longer great.
When you said great, I thought you were going to quote me for a second. Go ahead.
No. Great Aaron Rodgers, when he was great. RELAX. Relax.
Chill. Take a Xanax.
Exactly. It's going to be fine. Josh Heupel has proven himself in the portal to this point, and Dave's got a column right now up on Off the Hook Sports that you need to read. Heupel's history in the portal, he's gotten better year to year. We can say what we want this past year. Heupel actually hit gold in the portal last year. There was a reason Tennessee's secondary went from the worst in the SEC to one of the top 3 in the SEC overnight. Heupel went right for the.
You just said something that rubbed me the wrong way. Nothing personal. Hit gold. It's almost like a 49er going to California and getting lucky. I think that the organizational skills by Josh Heupel, I don't think he hit gold. I think he hit a home run. Gold implies luck.
Well, if you study the Gilded Age, Dave, those 49ers who said they hit gold, they were like, no, we were smart and we earned the gold that we struck. Just like Jerry Jones thinks that Jerry Jones thinks he struck oil because he's smart. You know that, right?
Okay, but last year wasn't luck. Can we agree there?
No, it wasn't.
Okay,
Heupel knew where to dig. Heupel knew where to dig.
Okay, let's take a look. All right, so class number 1 is I'm counting 2022 because 2021 was half assembled by Jeremy Pruitt, and you're really hamstrung from the get. So look at 2022. Who did Tennessee get? Brew McCoy. Did he work out?
Yeah, I think he worked out pretty good.
Andre Turrentine, did he work out?
He's working out.
He started several games last year, so I would have to say that's a win, even if he never played again. But anyway, Gerald Mincey, that work out?
It worked out when he played at Tennessee. I mean, we can't deny that he was a rotational player on the 2022 offensive line.
And I'm not including losing them moving forward, okay? I'm just saying you evaluated them, you went out and got them, okay? And you competed against the best programs in the nation, and you got them. That's a win to me. It's kind of like if you if Nico won a national championship, decided he was going to take a year off to go to the NFL. Doesn't matter. You've won a championship, okay? All right, now, moving forward, how about the 2023 class? Gabe Judy Lawley, win?
Yes, definitely a win.
John Campbell Jr., win?
Relative struggled this year, but I'll still say win.
To me, a transfer that starts is a win, no matter how they play.
Okay, well then, if that's the case, if that's your standard, it's a win. I think that's a stupid standard, Dave. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, well, I just mean,
do you think DJ Ogunlele was a win for Florida State?
No. I just think you had a hold of Phil, so you addressed the need. I'm not saying that he deserves a star on his contract. I'm just saying you addressed a need as a starter.
I think you're giving him a golden noodle star, Dave.
A golden noodle star. All right, Omar Norman Lott, win. This is the 2023 class.
Huge win.
Dante Thornton Jr., win.
Win.
Keenan Pili, win.
Semi, yeah, we'll say win. Would have been a bigger win had he not gotten hurt, but still a win. For just
I would argue that's the biggest win in this group. He just got hurt. Offensive lineman Andre Kuric.
Shockingly a win. I wouldn't have said that last year.
He's come along. Yeah, I wouldn't have said it last year either. Charles Campbell in the 2023 class.
He worked out at kicker. He did.
Yep. Okay. Now, Tennessee currently still has out of that class Jackson Moy. Win?
A huge win.
Okay. I mean, I'm giving you this group of people that I'm giving you with Josh Heupel and who he signed in 2023. I'm giving you a group of players that is arguably more impactful on a program than any class that Philip Fulmer has ever signed as far as year number one. Okay. Miles Kitselman, win?
Definitely a win.
No doubt. Maybe the most surprising win out of the group. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay. Chris Brazel II.
Win. Definitely a win.
No doubt. Jermod McCoy.
A home run.
Home run. Jacoby Thomas.
That's a grand slam, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Jermod McCoy. Their slugging percentage to me is about 580. All right. Defensive back Jacoby Thomas.
I'd actually say a win. He played a lot this year. He was relatively in the rotation.
I agree. We're on the same page. That's a win. Holden Stays.
Not a win, but not a loss, because he signed Miles Kitselman and Holden Stays and was like, one of them's going to play and the other one's going to transfer. And Miles Kitselman won the job. That's how that worked out.
Okay, but it allowed them to play two tights, too. They couldn't play 12 personnel unless they had two very competent, really three competent tight ends. Sorry?
Two tights.
I'm sorry?
I said two tights.
Yeah, two tights. But when you add Ethan Davis into that, it allowed them to play 12 personnel. And I don't think that they beat Oklahoma without 12 personnel. So to me, Holden Stays resulted in a win. That's a win.
Okay. That's a win.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the 2024 transfers because, again, a
lot of those were 2024 transfers that you mentioned. I think your years are off. Holden Stays transferred last year and Miles Kitselman. Sorry, I think we mixed up 2023 and 2024.
Okay, sorry, I may have misspoke here. All right, so that was okay. So when you look at these players and the impact that they had, you also have Jackson Moy, who could still be a factor. Kitselman is back. McCoy is a lockdown corner. Brazel obviously is key because they don't have receivers. Now, that's the 2024 class.
And then Lance Hurd, too.
And Lance Hurd. I left out Lance Hurd. So,
yeah.
I mean, okay, did Alabama fans have faith in Nick Saban that he was going to recruit well and that he was going to win championships? Yes. I think you're to the point where you need to have faith that Josh Heupel is going to put together an incredible transfer class. And I think part of that's because of culture, and Caleb used to make fun of me for that, but I'm trying to change that. All right, let's take a look at some transfers that Tennessee is in on. And we'll do that right now. And it's today's tough question. Repeat the poll question that's on the YouTube page.
Tennessee's transfer portal will end in great success, modest success, concern.
It's brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. All right, so give us a reset on the poll question. Where do we stand on that?
The poll question is Tennessee's transfer portal will end in great success, modest success, concern. And you want to see what's leading?
Yes.
Modest success at 59%. Number 2 is great success at 19. I'm sorry, number 2 is concern at 22%. Great success is 3 at 19%.
Okay, you know what I think the worst vote is there? Is
what?
Medium success. I think you either think based off of the history that he is going to have success, or you're afraid that the program has slipped and he's not. To me, the right down the middle is the worst answer.
What you're saying is people who answer right down the middle are scared. Dave's calling you guys out.
I'm not calling anybody out.
Dave's calling everybody out. We heard you, Dave. We heard you, Dave. You think they're scared. You can say it.
Scared. You ain't nothing but scared. I ain't never been scared. You probably never heard that saying. Well, you were raised in the South. Have you heard I ain't never been scared?
Yes.
Yes. That's usually right before a fight. And then you say, hold my beer. All right. So
a lot of rappers say that too. I ain't never been scared.
Oh, well, us Southern people started it. Okay. So Caleb,
it's typically Southern rappers who say it.
Okay. Well, we can share. I mean, you know, I don't mind. You can take my words. I'll take yours. I'm not going to take that one word that I'm not supposed to say. All right, Caleb. All right, Caleb. What do you got, buddy? Who are some prospects that Tennessee is in after?
So obviously one of the ones that they missed out on over the weekend is it was Zacharias Branch, who ended up going to Georgia. Some other Tennessee targets recently, we're looking at it. There is David Gusta, the defensive lineman from Washington State. It's a guy they're trying to use to replace Omar Norman Lott. That would be a big one for them. I'm
told they're in very good shape for him.
Really? Okay, interesting. Zion Branch. Zion Branch committed with Zacharias Branch to Georgia. Excuse me. Malik Benson is a guy they're targeting out of Florida State. They go back to 2022 when the Vols were among the contenders for the number 1 ranked junior college transfer. He ended up choosing Alabama, and then he ended up transferring to Florida State. So that's a guy Tennessee's looking at. Amari Jefferson's still the big one. They're really going hard after Amari Jefferson. So we're going to see how that ends up. And yet a big one that no one's talking about is, you're going to love this, Dave, a South Dakota State transfer. Now, what's relevant about that?
Josh Heupel's from South Dakota.
He is from South Dakota. Angel Johnson, a running back. They're looking at bringing him in to offset the loss of Dylan Sampson. He's 5'9", 195 pounds, from Viborg, South Dakota. I'm sorry to make jokes, but he's probably the only black person who lives in South Dakota. I mean,
well, I was just thinking to myself that Josh Heupel probably went into South Dakota and got the only real football prospect.
You're right. He probably did. Like,
it's probably, I'm looking around. Oh, it's that guy. I've searched the whole state. I'm going to get that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the football players on South Dakota State probably aren't even from South Dakota. Okay, so like, I
guarantee you that 90% of their roster is not.
Yeah, so this guy's from South Dakota. You think Josh Heupel probably has a bit of a connection. This guy, I'm looking it up now. So Josh Heupel is from Aberdeen, South Dakota. This guy is from Viborg, South Dakota, which, just to pull it up, just in case you guys are curious, are both on the eastern portion. Aberdeen's on the north end, northeast South Dakota. Viborg is southeast South Dakota. But you guys also have to remember these giant square states are huge. So, like, you can be like 12 hours from somebody in the same state.
Yeah. Let's anybody else?
Those are the main ones. Now, I think the main one they're going to target, the two ones to watch out for are Malik Benson and Amari Jefferson. Honestly,
Malik Benson. Does anybody remember the television show Benson? Do you remember the television show? Is that before your time?
And by the way, breaking news. Yes, Washington State did land Angel Johnson. I missed that. I apologize. I should have corrected myself. They did, but I do not remember that television show. So coming down to it, Amari Jefferson and Malik Benson is who they want to go after.
All right. So, but they're going to get more. There are more names out there that we don't know yet, right? I mean, they're not going to be okay with 3 portal signees.
No, they're not done. They're not done. They're going to load up. Don't worry.
Okay, Tennessee picks up a commitment in Tyron Evans. What do we make of this commitment? I got to be honest with you. This one surprises me a little bit. 6'3", 170 pounds. He is listed, well, not that incredibly high. He's a wide receiver. He's listed as the 83rd overall wide receiver. 78th overall wide receiver, according to Vols 24/7's composite, 24th in North Carolina, 508 in the nation. What do you make of Tyron Evans? And I'll give you my one redeeming quality to this commitment. It's not to say that I'm saying that Josh Heupel doesn't have talent. It's not to say that they extended the bad offer. I don't see a lot of star power out of this guy, so I immediately scratch my head. But there is one aspect of his recruitment that I think is very, very pertinent. But first, let me start with you. What do you make of the Tyron Evans commitment?
I think he's just a body. I think this is not a type of guy that if this were pre-transfer portal era that they would have gone after. I think there was one specific reason. I think Tennessee is trying to. Well, you know what? You give me your reason first, because I think we may be seeing the same thing. So I want to know your thoughts first. I don't want to take your point.
The C word, Charlotte. The C word, Charlotte. You take a guy like this. He's 2026. So we're not talking about a guy that's going to come in the next couple of weeks or this summer. So he's 2026. He's 170 pounds. He's 6'3". If he puts on 20 pounds, which is quite possible, and he's out of Charlotte because of Tennessee's ties there and what they want to build there, I'm completely okay with that. But if he shows up to campus at 6'3", 170 pounds, and is still rated after his senior year or midway through his senior year, listen, this is one of those this is a motivational scholarship, Caleb. Have I used that term with you before?
You have not.
Okay. So nowadays, what people used to do, they used to give silent scholarships, okay? And they weren't necessarily committable, but you were technically committed quietly. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does.
The reason they did that is because you could go to, let's say, Bob. You could go to Bob and you could say, Bob, we told you needed to put on 20 pounds. That's why we didn't make this a public commitment. You didn't put on 20 pounds. I'm sorry, Bob, but Tennessee is not the right place for you. Nowadays, you don't have to do that. You can offer a Bob. I don't want to rip Tyron Evans, okay? But you can offer a Bob, and because of the transfer portal and the way that recruiting is viewed differently because of the transfer portal, you can go back and say, Bob, it just didn't work out, buddy. And I'm sorry, but you're out. And it can be a public commitment, and you don't face any PR backlash, Caleb. That's the big difference. That's what's changed dramatically in recruiting. So much like free agency in the NFL, you can go to a guy and say, if you don't pass your physical, I'm not signing you to this contract. You can do that now in recruiting. It's more like free agency than I ever would have dreamed.
All right, I'm going to take it a step further. You ready for where I'm going to take it, Dave?
I'm ready. I'm just going to say if Tyron Evans isn't 185 pounds by the time he signs, he shouldn't be allowed to sign a scholarship.
I think this is absolutely solely. They're taking a shot in the dark. You're right about that, but this is absolutely
shot in the dark's a little strong. What if he can fly?
Here's what this is about.
Okay,
they're absolutely solely 100%, 1000% getting this kid because they are trying to reestablish a pipeline in North Carolina and affirm that pipeline in North Carolina because of Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick.
He's at the Tar Heels.
Wait, so, but they didn't do that specifically because of Bill Belichick.
I think they're going to take some lesser players from North Carolina right now just to keep them away from the Tar Heels because they want to make sure that it's very clear that North Carolina is their place to recruit. And they are trying to ice out Bill Belichick, who is, by being at North Carolina now, is going to recruit well at North Carolina just by his name. So I think they are trying to ice out Bill Belichick as much as possible. And I think they see him as a legitimate threat. So they're going to take anybody of substance they can get out of North Carolina right now just to establish that pipeline. And maybe it'll help them get some other teammates of these kids out of North Carolina. I mean, Faison Brandon's out of North Carolina too. So, this is a big gift. David Sanders is out of North Carolina. They are doing this to let it be known we are recruiting North Carolina heavily and we are staying in North Carolina, Bill.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Who are the coaches in the Carolinas? Doran, Dabo, Belichick.
Beamer. Old Beamer ball.
Okay. Beamer.
Jake Dickert, who just replaced Dave Clawson at Wake Forest.
Beamer, Clawson.
No, Jake Dickert. Dickert replaced Clawson.
Oh, Dickert. Okay. So out of that group, do you really think they're more concerned about Bill Belichick than everybody else?
And then Manny Diaz at Duke, by the way, too. Yes, I think they're more concerned about Belichick than everybody else. I think that I absolutely think they're more concerned about Belichick than everybody else. I think a lot of people are more concerned. We don't know how good Bill Belichick's going to do with this experiment at North Carolina, but I think Tennessee is trying to make the point of we're not going to let it they really don't want to mess anything up. How about that? And I think they're very concerned that they might
mess anything up. We have flirted with all kinds of bad words on the program today. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yes.
We haven't said them. Work Truck's all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down space to carry. You okay there? The perfect work vehicle does. We got a mute button. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips to trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with an iPod work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow in a dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks, and that's a fact. Service industry, Work Trucks. Work Trucks carries the trucks that your business has to have. You need Work Trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville, downtown Birmingham, for the entire inventory. Go online, worktrucksllc.com, worktrucksllc.com with an X. Work Trucks, proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. They'll have the perfect truck outfitted. Make sure it fits your needs to a T. Let me ask you this quickly before we move on, and we're going to visit with Jacob Warren here very shortly. Are we past the point that Tennessee has 5 commitments in Faison Brandon, the quarterback, wide receiver Tyreek King, interior offensive lineman Brandon Anderson, Carson Sneed, the tight end, now Tyron Evans out of wide receiver, Tyson Bacon, defensive line, and Braylon Outlaw at linebacker. Great name. I just ask you this. Are we to the point where we can say that Josh Heupel's recruiting is no longer a concern? Because that was concern number one when he was hired. Are you to the point where you can say, I'm not concerned about that anymore, or I am concerned, or I got to wait and see?
I got a hot take.
Hot take me.
Josh Heupel's system is more of a concern now than his recruiting. Because there's a legitimate question on whether or not this offensive system has been figured out. I keep telling you guys this. This past year, Dave, it's not a coincidence that Lincoln Riley struggled. Josh Heupel's offense took a dip even with Nico Iamaleava. Jeff Lebby couldn't get off the ground at Mississippi State. They all run a variation of what we call the veer and shoot, which is just the air raid with veer principles. Is that concept being figured out? Our defense is ahead of the curve on it. Largely because, let's be honest, here, let's take it another step further. Is it possible to run this offense with the way players can fake injuries? Because they can slow the tempo down. And can Josh Heupel's offense work without tempo?
That's not my greatest concern. My greatest concern is people continue to get lighter and lighter and lighter. You don't even have you don't have a weak side linebacker anymore, right? No, you don't. I think they're adding more and more speed. I think that's a concern. Let's be real.
It's the reason you just had in the NFL a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,900-yard rusher.
Yeah, and I told you that touchdown pass way back in September. I told you touchdown passes were up by like 20%. I'm sorry, touchdown passes were down by 20%. I think that's the direction football is going. I think there's ebbs and flows. You go from 3 to 4 to 4 and 3. You go to running and passing, and I think that's the direction football is going to go. But I have more confidence in Josh Heupel than maybe you do after I saw what he did with the 12 personnel. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Hang tight. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Coming up on the program, boy, Florida has an absolute mess, and it's created just a terrible situation for Jaden Rashada. Should the Vols consider going out after him? 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
I've been in business actually 19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Welcome back. Appreciate you being a part of the program weekdays at 10 a.m. We have a major announcement tomorrow that we're looking forward to getting to. As a whole, a college football playoff, win, loss, tie. What do you think? The college football playoff, win, loss, tie.
The way it's gone?
Yes.
It's a loss. It's a loss. It's been lame. It's been lame. It's been a letdown. The format was stupid. Yeah. It's been lame.
I think it's a win. All right. This day in Tennessee sports history is brought to you by our fantastic friends at Sports Treasures. We absolutely love them. You probably know that. At Sports Treasures, it is I got something in my mouth. Huh? You can go ahead and tell me. What have I got in my mouth, Caleb?
It's on a little bit on your chin now, right side of your chin. Right side of your chin. Right. There you go. It's gone.
Sports Treasures carrying over 5 million sports treasures. That is right. In North Knoxville, you will love Sports Treasures. They are absolutely phenomenal. So much more. Follow on Facebook for the latest in sports memorabilia. Go to sportstreasurestn.com. Did anybody else on the message board notice I had something on my chin? I certainly hope not. Jaden Rashada is looking for another home. There's a part of me that feels incredibly sorry for this young man, as Florida just hijacked his recruiting and ran it straight into the ground. It's told him they had money for him, and he shows up to Florida and there's no money for him. Jaden Rashada, where might he end up, Caleb?
Yeah, so this is shocking because he transferred out of Georgia. And I think you and I both would have thought with Carson Beck probably leaving, I think there was a chance he could have beaten Gunnar Stockton for the starting job next year.
It's not a chance. I think it would have likely happened unless he was told otherwise.
That's the question. And so now we start to ask, why did he hit the portal? And I don't know where he's going to end up at this point, because he left Arizona State because I think he thought the minute he got a little bit of taste of starting, I think that there were a lot of teams that fell in love with him. I think there is a lot of, in this era of the portal, quarterbacks more than any other position, you're seeing a lot of hopping around to try to find a place to start and to try to find the best place to start. I don't know if you saw Harrison Bailey, who was a former Tennessee quarterback, who was the MVP of Louisville's bowl game, transferred right after Louisville won. Wow. Pretty much. And he was a starter. I think, and Dave, you tell me if this is right. There's 3 possibilities here, and I don't know which one. And it's with Rashada and it's with Bailey. Possibility number 1, for instance, Bailey played well. Somebody else offered more NIL money. That's the simplest explanation, right? Occam's razor.
Sure.
Possibility number 2. They just don't think they're going to get a chance to play at the place they're at. That could be Rashada at Georgia, even though I think he would beat out Gunnar Stockton. So I have a hard time believing that. Harrison Bailey, I don't believe that because he started the bowl game. He was probably going to be the starter going into his final year of eligibility. Option number 3. Even though they could start at the place they're at, there's another school that's offered them a role that they think they're a better fit for and they think will be better for them, and they're going to take a risk going to that school. I can't imagine either of them doing that. Can you?
No, but as far as a better opportunity, what year is Gunnar Stockton?
Gunnar Stockton, I believe, is going to be a sophomore going into this year.
Okay, if I'm Jaden Rashada, okay, I'm a 50-year-old man. I tend to make more prudent decisions, Caleb, than a 19-year-old. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. If I'm a 19-year-old and I show up to Georgia and they've offered me cash, probably Carson Beck gave me a Lambo, and this is my home, and I want to play in the SEC, and was he Arizona or Arizona State?
Arizona State.
Okay, I'm at Arizona State, and that just wasn't the same level of football facilities, the whole thing. I want to be back in the SEC. And then I go through camp. I go through the season, and I'm obviously more talented, and he is, than Gunnar Stockton. And then he starts. I think that might have slammed the door on Jaden Rashada. And I say good for Kirby Smart. I mean, if he did that, I mean, you can't – you're in a championship type of run. You can't play a guy, even if you think that Jaden Rashada is 40% of Gunnar Stockman, right? Okay, let's just say one's 60%, one's 40%. You can't chance a championship run. So if he had to stand up to Jaden Rashada and said, buddy, you got to hit the bricks because I'm going with Gunnar, gives us the best chance to win, too bad. I think this illustrates the difference between Tennessee's football program right now and why people are a little bit, I believe, overly negative. Tennessee's football program is set at quarterback until Caleb's son goes to school one day. And I think that's step number one in this NIL thing. If you don't have your quarterback situation locked up, and they've got that with McIntyre, they've got that with Faison Brandon. And listen, if one of those guys, if McIntyre sees Nico next year and he balls out, and Nico says, I love college so much I want to come back, and McIntyre bolts, will you have Faison? I don't see other schools with a game plan at quarterback like Tennessee has. And maybe they've been fortunate and things have fallen in the right position. But Caleb, I think that's reason to celebrate Tennessee's football program that maybe some people take for granted.
I think this is something I want to say up front. I just talked about people panicking over Tennessee in the portal earlier in the show. I think people need to stop panicking over the state of college football with NIL in the portal as it is, based on what you're saying. It's working. It's actually working. More people are getting opportunities going to other places as of right now. I think what's separating are the teams that run it more effectively. And as you're pointing out, Tennessee is handling everything much more effectively right now. And I think the important point to bring up is that if you look at the data, nobody's losing more than like a quarter of their team. So everybody's like, oh, there's no loyalty to these teams. I can't root for players over 4 years. Yada, yada, yada. Whine. I just want to whine about college football. Guys, 75% of your team is coming back every single year. Okay? In all college football programs. That's still a good ratio. And most schools that are losing players at Tennessee's level are losing players that they probably weren't going to play. The portal and the NIL are working.
For Tennessee specifically. You don't just
for Tennessee specifically, not for everybody. But it's going to start working for everybody because everybody's going to figure out how to navigate and operate this thing. Tennessee got ahead of the curve on this. Okay. Now, I do think there is going to be some issues down the road for Tennessee because I think the whole SEC is going to have issues down the road until a salary cap's in place because Big Ten schools are starting this year going to be raking in so much more money that they're going to be able to buy more talent.
Okay,
but
let me ask you this, though. While Tennessee seems to be on the good side of it, I think we would agree that Florida is not because of the way they handled the Rashad. I mean, that's like,
yeah, but they're recruiting out the wazoo right now.
Well, I know, but you could have a wedding ring without a diamond, and it's just that to me is like one big black mark that you have a kid show up and the money's not there and he's the quarterback. I mean, that's really tough for me to overcome. They are recruiting well. And then, so Billy Napier's kind of an old school coach, not very bright. I think that, just to be real honest with you, I don't think he's going to master the transfer portal suddenly. Now, they might recruit at a high level out of high school. My question is, I'm not worried about Florida. I think if there's a kid in Valdosta halfway in between and Tennessee wants bad enough in the transfer portal, they can go get him and beat Florida for them. Would you agree with that?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All things being equal. I'm not saying like it's Danny Werfel's son, but what about Georgia? Does Tennessee have an NIL advantage over Georgia?
Oh, I think they have an NIL advantage over Georgia, but I think the NIL advantage is nullified because I think Georgia, there is a discount to go play at Georgia right now. Here's the big trouble with Tennessee, by the way. This is one big concern, Dave.
Okay, don't let me forget, because I don't think those exist based off people I've spoken to. But go ahead.
You don't think discounts exist? Because
No,
I thought there was a hype.
Right. I think if Nick Saban was still around, I think the discounts of playing for Saban because he's going to get you to the NFL, I think those days are over.
See, I thought the Hypel discount was there last year, and I don't think it's there this year. I guess that's where I'm at with it.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know that a lot of guys took a discount last year. I think a lot of guys were paid, and I think that's why that they're going to pull back on some of the spending, or at least from what I've been told, hold it right where it is.
That's
which is the same thing because inflation, right? I mean, inflation's 4%. So
yeah, if you hold it where it is, then you're going to.
Yeah, if I tell you I'm paying you $100 a year right now, and you make $100 a year in 10 years, then you've actually gotten a pay cut.
Right. No, I totally agree. You know, it was
having before long between me and Caleb. But go ahead.
The point you're making is money devalues over time. Money devalues over time.
So the point, I think that Tennessee's going to, I think they're going to put a little bit of a cap themselves on the spending. I don't think they're going to go and slash the budget. I think some people got a little bit confused by that when I reported that last year. I'm not saying they're going to slash the budget, but I think putting a limit on spending is probably the right thing to do, Caleb, because when you hire a new coach, you do what? You give them free reign. Do you need a private plane to recruit somebody in St. Martin in the West Indies? Go for it. I mean, you don't put any limitations when you hire a new coach, but now is probably a prudent time to put some reins on some things.
Yes, this is where it's going to work itself out. The reins is going to be, and there will be a school that figures this out, man, the Moneyball reins. Why spend money on the coach when I can spend money on the players? And I can just get a mascot like Ed Orgeron as a head coach, and he'll go win a national championship because I'll have so much talent on my team that I'll ball. That's coming.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate because you're still going to have to get two coordinators. That's what Orgeron did. Orgeron had two excellent coordinators. I was told before the season he's never going to turn it over to them. But if he does, they're really, really good. And I was told that they're probably going to lose 3 games because he won't turn it over to them. But he did. So my question is, how can an Orgeron work if you're going to spend $2.53 million per coordinator? Well, you might as well get a bright head coach. That's why I think Tennessee is in a fine position, because I think Josh Heupel is a very bright offensive mind. And I don't think bright offensive mind is putting together that offense of 2022 that threw it all over the park. I think a bright offensive mind is being able to adjust to 12 personnel and do that to win football games like he did. I'm more impressed. This sounds crazy. I'm more impressed by Josh Heupel's coaching X's and O's after the 2024 season than I am 2022.
Oh, I'm not.
I think I might be in the minority there.
I think we saw too many examples of him coming up and like, oh, they threw something at us that we weren't ready for, that we hadn't seen on film. I'm like, how many times are you going to say that, bro? Like, how many times are you not going to adjust in a game? Okay. And I think that's kind of like what's throwing me off. It's like the teams were in that 3-3-5 the whole time. And also, I'm sorry, that Ohio State game, Dylan Sampson getting hurt, they abandoned the run game like that, Dave. I mean, they barely ran the football against Ohio State. And I'm sorry, I don't care if it's Peyton Lewis. You stick with the run game. Heupel's bread and butter, and people don't get this. He keeps it on the ground. He wants to run it twice as many times. He wants to run it, and this is the truth. He wants to run it 3 out of every 5 plays. That's how often he wants to run it. He wants to run it 3 out of every 5 plays. And he did not do that against Ohio State, all because his star running back got hurt, even though Peyton Lewis was supposed to be an elite running back himself. I mean, all this boils down to, because we're getting sidetracked a little bit, are the players should you spend more money on the players or the coaches in the NIL era? And I'm going to argue the players.
Let's hold that for tomorrow, because I have a different thought on that. So the portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations. Your home mortgage just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat Mortgage, chat with 2 T. teesmortgage.com. Also want to thank our friends at Double D Fire Protection Contractors, providing around-the-clock service, protecting customers' lives and properties at all times. This day in Tennessee sports history in just about 30 seconds, brought to you by our good friends at Double D Piping.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
This day in Tennessee sports history is what, Caleb?
All right, this is kind of an intriguing one, so you can have a little bit of fun. On this day, 24 years ago, the Tennessee basketball program hit its peak of the Jerry Green era, just before everything went to hell in a handbasket. Tennessee scored on the road at Auburn a thrilling double overtime 96-88 win at Auburn, who was a very good Auburn basketball team at that time, to get to 14-1, which spurred them reaching number 4 in the AP poll the following Monday. Fans were looking at a team that just missed the Elite Eight the previous year, had a bunch of seniors led by Tony Harris on this team. They were thinking Final Four, and they were thinking it for good reason. And then they held it for about
and then life happened. And then Jerry Green, leaving the stadium, had the team bus stop by a liquor store. I can't tell you for sure that was that game, but I can tell you for sure that happened. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Can you imagine that? The head coach going, well, you see that Acme liquor store? You care to pull over there for just...
Did he ever in practice early to go golfing? I know you saw him going golfing one time, but did he ever in practice?
Well, he didn't in practice early. He would just leave, and he'd let practice continue without him.
Wow, even Spurrier would, because Spurrier would in practice early if he had tea time at Florida.
I've heard that. I'm not sure if that's true. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. 2 minutes. If you'll give me that, then I'm going to give you a little bit of Jacob Warren coming up on the program. And also, we will get to Tennessee beating Arkansas over the weekend. Man, it feels good to be John Calipari, doesn't it? I don't care who you root for. John Calipari's upset about no shoot-arounds. And the Lady Vols do fall over the weekend. Jacob Warren will join us next. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
I've been in business actually 19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com. Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover, cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount. Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello,
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
I have to apologize, my co-host Doc Holliday, who apparently has a case of the emphysema. How you doing there, Caleb? Coffee?
Oh, I'm much better today than I was last week.
Lord. I mean, you make Val Kilmer from Tombstone look like a healthy individual. Have you seen that movie?
I have not actually.
Holy
but I did.
cow. Like literally one of the best 5 movies I've ever seen in my life.
But I did see Val Kilmer in Batman Forever.
That is his worst.
when he had the bat nipples.
The bat nipples. All
And
right.
Nicole Kidman was grabbing him. Remember that?
I'm a big superhero guy, so there are certain superhero movies that I try to erase from my memory and pretend they never happened. And that's one.
Nicole Kidman grabbing the bat nipples is still one of the greatest moments. It's legendary.
I see. I don't.
Jake
I
Warren
really.
we should ask him if he's seen that one.
I really do not remember that, and I'm very glad I don't. But I can't believe you haven't seen Tombstone. Maybe that's. Will you watch it with the missus? Will you have a little date night and watch Tombstone? You will not be disappointed.
Sure.
All right. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. Jacob Warren joins us now. It's brought to you by Peacock V Hydration. We'll tell you more about them. Jacob, have you seen the movie?
Don't ask me about it. Don't ask me. I don't know. I've never seen it.
It's about Wide Open. It literally, I guarantee both of you watch it and you'll say, this is one of my all-time favorite movies.
I mean, sure.
Jacob, have you seen the Tim Burton Batman movies? You're a little young guy, so I don't know if you've seen them.
Nope.
They're horrible.
I can tell by the way you described it.
Gosh.
They're terrible.
All right. Well, no bat nipples here. He's Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker with Caleb Calhoun. Jacob, I wanted to dig into this, the college football playoff, and we have an idea now. We haven't seen the culmination of the playoff, but we have an idea of the level of play, and you have a really good idea of the level of play of Tennessee. So I'm just curious, when you see what's happening now on the field, and you know the talent level that you guys had last year, how close is Tennessee to truly competing for a championship, winning a championship?
Yeah. I think comparing years, right? Again, that's pretty much what we've done all season is just kind of look at, okay, well, what happened last year? What happened the year before? Like, and trying to compare and contrast and all these different things. Like, I don't know, man. The more the season's gone on and the more I kind of thought about it, it's hard. It's really, really hard to do that just because of all the different factors, right? I try to think about the consistent things between my teams and this team. And then, like, I don't even really know personally half the guys that are out there starting, right? We get so many transfers. You're just getting so much change. You're getting so much turnover. And I don't know. It's just all is totally different. So I truly feel like I started to know less and less as the season has gone on about kind of what's going on. And I don't know. It was weird for sure. Obviously, it's just a part of the stage for me, leaving that stage in my life, I guess. But as far as them being on the cusp of really finding that. Honestly, man, I don't know. I think it's just so weird and it's so fragile. Like, right. So in my opinion, we pulled the hardest team to play, right? First in the first round. And even if we won that game, right, you're going to play the second hardest team, in my opinion, in the playoff, the second round. Right. So I think a lot of it kind of has to do with who you're playing and, obviously you don't want it to deal with who you're playing, right? You'd rather just be the best team in all of it, right? So there's just no doubt about it. But no, I think, I don't think necessarily, obviously we weren't good enough to win this year and to move on. But I mean, seeing what Ohio State's doing, that's next level of just talent and just execution. And I don't know, they seem pretty unstoppable right now. So I'm not making excuses, but I also, I don't really know what else it's going to take other than just getting really, really good players and continuing to scheme it up and go out there and put your best foot forward on Saturday nights.
Hey, buddy, I said before you came on, and Caleb looked at me like I was crazy. I feel better about Josh Heupel as a coach after this year than I did 2022. And it sounds insane, but here's why.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt, unless college football has caught up to his type of beer and shoot offense, I have no doubt that he's going to have as much of that offense as anybody else that's out there. I think he knows it that well. But his willingness and ability to go to that 12 personnel told me more about him as a coach than Jalen Hyatt running for 5 million yards.
Sure. And I agree. I think that shows development, that shows growth. I think it also, if you're not doing that, truthfully, I think that just makes you a bad coach, right? That just makes you bad at a job. It doesn't even have to be football, right? It could just be a regular job. But if you're not continuously looking for better options, continuously pushing the envelope, like figuring out ways to, right, get your job done, no matter what that looks like, right? Obviously, he knew people were going to kind of be, some people, like you said, enjoy watching it, right? They think that it's really cool and it's a different style of football they haven't seen in a couple of years, so they really enjoy it. But obviously, you get a lot of backlash whenever you go away from it, right? And things might not work out one way or another. And, now it's like, oh, why are we changing what we're doing? It's like, nobody really understands kind of his thought process or what goes on outside the building. So I don't know. I enjoy watching it because I'm like, oh, cool. this is a change up, right? Like this is exactly what I feel like we need.
So Jacob,
for the record, Caleb thinks I'm crazy on that take. But anyway, go ahead, Caleb.
When did I ever say that, Dave?
Yeah, I got some beef this morning. I could tell already.
It's Monday. Let's just get in the backyard and go at it.
Right.
All right.
Y'all hash it out. Good.
I had this discussion with a former player one time. What's funny is if like Jacob decided that he wanted to beat me up, and obviously I would lose. But the worst part about it is I couldn't even run from him because he's faster than me too.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I hope you're not thinking about that often, but yeah.
Our age gaps just show.
Talk about a good take. That's fair.
He's gonna catch me in like less than 3.5 yards.
Yeah.
Age gaps showing, Gen X, millennial, Gen Z. Jacob, speaking of that, do you think Dave has any thoughts on the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef? Do you think Dave has any idea on who's winning that?
Do you think he knows who those people are?
I don't. I do know Kendrick Lamar because my daughter's a big fan, and I was a big Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg back in the day. So she's like, I think we have this in common. And I was like, oh, please, God, don't listen.
Oh, no, please.
They are both with Dre's label. So that is, well, Snoop isn't, but he was. Okay, so. Jacob, speaking with that Ohio State game, I mean, did that show reveal that maybe Tennessee still has a few more steps to climb, or was that one of those where look, sometimes blowouts happen in playoff games and that's just how it is?
The thing that really kind of frustrated me and I hated watching was the fact that it seemed like that happened to every other game. That first round felt like a blowout, right? And it was like, okay, everybody was looking to this game like, all right, Tennessee's not going to let us down, right? Tennessee's they're going to go up there, show Ohio State, like, oh, Big Ten, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be, all of it's going to be settled, right? And then we go up there and it's like, oh, maybe not, right? Just another blowout. And so I'm not sure, man. I'm never going to stop saying that we could be one of the better teams in the nation. I'm never going to not truly believe that. But, you got to come with a little something better than what happened, that Saturday night. And I think everybody knows that, right? I don't think anybody's scared of that fact. I don't think anybody's scared of that truth. But, yeah, you're going to have your best game, and you're going to have a majority of your players, right, actually playing the game. You're going to have backup plans. It's just going to have to be better overall, whether that's roster, whether that's coaching, whether that's play calls. doesn't really matter. But I think everybody kind of saw, like it's going to be another level, right? Another step to take in order to get to that point where you can confidently walk into those stadiums and win those games on the road.
Yeah, but I do think we have to keep things in perspective. I mean, this program was an absolute dumpster fire when Josh Heupel took over. If you would have told anybody, I think that they would be in a 12-team playoff.
Hey, I was there. All right.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Sorry.
I was part of that dumpster.
Yeah, you were the fire extinguisher guy. You were the one putting out. But anybody that would have said at that time, you're going to be one of the top 12 teams in the nation would not have had any argument. You said something earlier that piqued my interest. You said whether it's talent or execution, it wasn't there. How? I mean, if you had to say what percentage was talent, what percentage was execution, how would you define that?
Yeah, obviously, I don't necessarily think percentages is necessarily the right way to go about it, but I think anyone can watch just and again, there's so many different like parts of this, right? You lose a couple people in the portal, right? So now technically you're really not performing at full strength, in my opinion. Doesn't matter if you lost a backup, doesn't matter if you lost, the fourth wide receiver, if you lost the third tight end, it doesn't matter, right? Like, truthfully, you need every single piece of the puzzle in order to go out there and perform, in my opinion, perform the same way, right? And obviously plug and play, next man up, people prepare the whole year for this, like different things like that. But you know what I'm saying, to not have just your absolute just dudes out there and for them to not be performing at their best of their ability, that's what gets you beat, right? Ohio State had dudes out there and they're performing at the best of their ability. Their quarterback performed best of his ability. Those wide receivers went insane, right? And I'm not saying that their wide receivers are necessarily just so much better than our DBs. We got one of the best DBs in the country, right? And that's like just a fact, right? That's not even like my opinion. And you know what I'm saying? They're going to make plays too. So at the same time, it's like, yeah, okay, well, let's take our guys and let's go make plays of our own. That's the only way you're able to compete at this level. And everyone knows that. Like everyone in that building is aware of that. So I'm not speaking to them. I'm speaking just out of just my own thought of like, that's what it's just going to take for any team to really go out there and get it. Same thing happened with Oregon, right? Oregon has so much talent. They have more talent than just about anybody else in the whole entire country, in my opinion. And you saw what happened, right? They just didn't execute the way that Ohio State executed. And if you don't do that, then it just really doesn't matter. So execution to me is 100% of the game, for sure.
I'll tell you what, you're not going to execute if you're not hydrated. Peak IV hydration, South Knoxville and Sevierville. You like how I did that? Live life to your fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate with the Peak IV hydration. Now, you've gone and you've gotten the IV, Jacob, so you know how well it works. I've gone with a patch a couple of different times. I'm a monstrous fan as well. So tell us a little something about Peak IV hydration. I know Caleb's got something for you.
Yeah, like Dave said, man, overall, take care of your health, take care of your body. Has a lot of implications on just your mind and how your brain works and the way you're able to function just throughout the day and being able to feel like you're not halfway through the day or whatever it may be, man. So just click the link. I would encourage you to read up on it, educate yourself a little bit about kind of what it actually means for you and see if that's a fit. But we definitely encourage you guys to go over there and try it out. We have all tried it, and we all think it's amazing.
I will drop that URL in the chat. You can again order online. You will feel better. You will feel hydrated. You will feel energized. It is unbelievable. Caleb?
James, I know you said it's all about execution, and that's what the game comes down to. But I mean, if you execute a poor game plan, you're still a lot of times going to lose. So do you think Tennessee needs to, and I'm not saying Heupel's a bad coach or anything like that, but do you think, given the way teams adjusted to the offensive schemes this year, do you think there's a level of importance of Heupel and the coaching staff going back to the drawing board this year, saying, how are we going to adjust to this new 3-3-5 personnel people are running against us and things like that?
Sure. Yeah. First off, I'll say, again, not whatever it was is what it was. But I'm a big believer, man. If we're all on the wrong page, dude, as long as we're on the same page, like that's kind of what I mean by, you got to execute what you're given, right? This is not the NFL. This is not, players don't make the decisions in this league, and that's just not how it is, right? That's, maybe eventually, right, with NIL and stuff, that'll be where it gets to. But coaches make decisions in this league, and players listen to decisions, right? Now, players obviously have impact on that, right? I think if you have a healthy culture and a healthy coaching staff, I think players do have a lot of say. And in our organization, players do have a lot of say, and they're able to change things that they see wrong, or make suggestions whenever they see fit. So, I think that is a big piece of it. But I mean, like Dave said, man, I think that hype has shown that he is willing to get out of what he knows, right? Now it's just a matter of, when you get out of what you know, let's execute it just as well as we do whenever we're in what we know, right? I think that's my biggest thing, is just, being able to slow it down. Say it's a big third down in the game, right? Whatever it is, and you have to get off tempo, finding a call that is, you know, not foolproof, right? Because there's always great defense and stuff, but just getting to the right call in that situation, get to the right call in the red zone. You know what I mean? Getting to the right call in all these specific situations where maybe our tempo isn't necessarily our friend, right? And again, I'm just spitting, right? This has nothing to do with, like, that could be what they're doing, and I'm sure that everyone down there is working on it and everything like that. But yeah, to me, man, it's just a matter of executing all those things outside of what we do on a daily,
All right,
daily
Jacob.
basis.
Last thing. I'll put you on the spot, buddy. I need some
Yep.
insight. Why
Yep,
did
you always
Squirrel
do.
White leave?
Oh, honestly, dude, I don't know. So my thing is, like, let me see how, and again, it doesn't have to be necessarily a politically correct, or it has to be politically correct. It doesn't necessarily have to be a PR answer here. Like, in the most realist sense, like, if a majority of my friends were gone, right? Not a majority, but if the people that I really, really cared about and hung out around all the time were gone, which is a couple of the wide receivers that also left, they left, right? I'm trying to come around to this whole NIL and, guys kind of bopping around and things like that. I'm trying to just see that side of it, because it was just a little bit different, right? Just even a couple years ago when I was playing, but you know, it's all about opportunity, right? And you saw what Jalen Hyatt did 2 years ago, and everybody wants to be that, right? I think everybody kind of expects for that's a good slot, fast wide receiver to have that level, that caliber of season, that caliber of year, and that's not happening for him, right? And I don't know. That's my assumption. That's just kind of, you asked me a question, I'm throwing it out there. I could see that being like, oh well, I mean, it's just not working the way that I maybe thought it was going to work after I saw what Jalen Hyatt did. Maybe he wants more opportunities. Maybe he wants a different offense. Maybe he just wants NIL money. Maybe he wants to be somewhere warm. I don't know. Like, literally, there's so many different aspects, so many different options and reasons why people get in the portal. I've seen.
One
Go
thing you
ahead.
said, not to interrupt at all, but one thing
There
you
you go.
said is his friends were gone. Not only were his friends gone,
Mm-hmm.
but the Brew McCoy that dictates coverage, the Dante
Yep.
Thornton that stretches the field.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he didn't feel like, as a slot receiver, and you could probably empathize with this a little bit, being a tight end, being dependent on what other people do to get you open.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a factor. I'm just throwing that out there.
For sure. And you have to think about changes like that, right? And to me, it's, my decision was, okay, do I leave this group, right, and make this, not obviously it's not my responsibility. It's not his responsibility how the wide receiver at Tennessee does from this point on. It has nothing to do with him, right? But 5 years ago, it was, okay, how can we build this back, right? How can we figure this out? We just lost 2 pieces to the draft, just lost 2 pieces in the portal. Like, how do we stick together and figure this thing out? And not even just Squirrel, but just across the board, that has no longer seemed, at least from me looking in, seemed to be the way that some people that leave feel, right? It's not all right, what can we do to build this back? What can we do to get this right? It's, man, this isn't right for me. Like, I'm out. And that's not a bad thing, right? That is what this transfer portal was made for, was for kids to have that freedom. And obviously, like, I'm super excited for Squirrel. I think Florida State is going to be pretty sick. Like, that's just kind of how I think, right? Him, Jason Jenkins is down there, Elijah Herring is down there, who I played with. So all those guys are going to be together. They'll have a good connection down there. But you know what I mean? It's just a different world, man. And, you know, there's no sense in trying to explain it for other people because I have no clue what Squirrel's thinking. You have no clue what Squirrel's thinking. And the only person that can really answer that question is him. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm just happy that at least these guys are getting opportunities other places, and seems like it could be, you know, rather good opportunities for them.
When you have three guys like that, then we'll let you out of here. Are they talking amongst themselves, or like if you'll go, I'll go? I mean, is it like when I put together a senior trip when I was in high school, or I mean, how do those conversations work? Because I respect the fact that I've talked to you and Cooper, and sometimes you don't know what's going through a player's mind. There's 85 dudes. I mean, I don't know what's going through all my employees' minds, so I get that.
It'd be impossible to,
yeah. But do you think that like they got together and said we want to go somewhere, or do you think it was just coincidence?
You know, I don't necessarily think it was a coincidence, right? But I do think for sure, and I know nothing about Florida State. I don't know who their assistant coaches are. I don't know who their I don't even really know who their like actual coach is. Who's their head coach?
Mike Norvell.
Mike Norvell. So, you know, in my head, what makes the most sense to me is Mike Norvell or whoever their assistant coaches are were just fans of what we did at Tennessee. We're fans of these guys when they were at Tennessee. And now it's like, okay, truthfully, I think in recruiting, you have leverage whenever you recruit people like that. Like if a kid from my high school, right, when I was coming out, if he was getting recruited by Vanderbilt, naturally, like I'm probably going to get recruited by Vanderbilt too, because if you get one of them, there's a better chance you get both of them.
Right.
To me, that's how it seems. Like I don't know how close Elijah Herring and Squirrel White and Jason Jenkins were, like as friends while they were here. I just don't know. But for sure, I mean, I don't know how. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I know that coaches like certain types of players, right? And most of the players at Tennessee are hardworking, smart players that have, you know, obviously been developed some, right, and have played some in order to get to the point where they're accepting a big offer like FSU or whatever. And so I think you just kind of know what you're going to get, right? You know what you're getting from Hype and his guys. Like you kind of know what you're getting from these Tennessee guys. And there's been people that have left that have done really well other places. So I don't know, man. It could just be coincidence. It could just be you. I think you do kind of understand what I'm saying by like you're getting a certain breed of player whenever you're getting them from Tennessee, if that makes sense.
I have one other question.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Tennessee's coaches.
Yeah.
Were they pleased to have another scholarship? Were they okay with Squirrel leaving? Or were they like, holy bleep, Squirrel left?
I would probably say most were like, holy bleep, Squirrel left, right?
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything because to me, it looks like a guy you don't want to lose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you don't want to lose him. Like you don't. And I don't know. I think anything that you say is kind of like looks bad in a certain way, right? But yeah, you definitely don't want to lose a guy like Squirrel. I think Squirrel does a lot for you in the offense. I think he's like an essential threat to be able to actually stretch vertically, also horizontally, right? With just his speed and stuff across the field. Like I really, really think Squirrel's a great player. And so I, you know what I mean? If I was a coach, I'd be upset losing a piece like that. He's also a great kid, and I do really, really enjoy just being around him. And I know the whole staff really liked him too. So I'm sure it was just as difficult of a decision for him as it was for them to hear that he was leaving, if that makes sense.
I just was curious because I've heard nothing but 100% great stuff on and off the record. I'll just be really clear. So that I just want to get your take because I think there are clearly other guys. They said, you know, if you leave, it's not a big deal.
Sure. And there'll always be players like that where it's like, okay, yeah, that stinks. Like but we can essentially replace you, right? That's what the whole game's about is not getting replaced every year. So I guess if they feel like a piece is replaceable, it's like, sorry, but yeah, go ahead. But to me, that's a big piece.
Peak IV Hydration, check them out. It's in the chat, peakivhydration.com. You can order online for the patches, which I love, or you can go get the actual IV, which will make you feel boom immediately better. Jacob, have a blessed day. Let's go to lunch. I was supposed to go to lunch with Jacob over the weekend, but I've been going through more drama than The Young and the Restless lately, and I completely forgot. So
First time in my life I got stood up, Dave. First time in my 24 years of life I got stood up.
Jacob texted me and he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know they're closed for the holiday." And I said, "Who?"
Wow.
Well,
All right.
you know, I love you. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you down for lunch, and it's on me. And
No,
I can't thank you enough for what you mean to the program, the excitement we have of you being involved in the future.
of course. I appreciate you, brother. All right, we'll have lunch soon, man. Don't worry about it.
Good. I mean, you know what I've been going through. It's been insane. All right. Thank you very much. He is Jake Warren. I'm Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, a huge monster sponsor. We're excited to announce tomorrow, which excited in more than one way. It may mean a car for Dave. So we're excited about that. Caleb, I mean, that's an exciting thing. Are you excited that I might get a car here? Or
I'm so excited for you to get a car, Dave.
Where the hell's my car? Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com, QualityTirePros.com, or just stop by and tell Bo that Dave Hooker and Off the Hook Sports said hello. Also, our Rick Terry Great 8 Garmin Challenge. We're closing in on 1,000 members. So we'll tell you more. 8,000 members. We will tell you more about how to be a part of that, as we will give away a Garmin worth over $1,000. But I'll go ahead and tell you the first thing you got to do is you got to be subscribed, and then we'll have more information for you as we go on. Coming up on the program, Tennessee beats Arkansas. But more importantly, they beat John Calipari. Isn't that the most important thing? The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. And also, we'll have the stat of the day coming up as well as, boom, here we go. How about a moment from Sports Treasures?
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
Did you like that dramatic pause, Caleb?
Loved it. It made so much sense.
Yeah. Just a dramatic pause out of left field. What the hell was that guy doing? Well, I mean, the reason I did that is because we're excited. We got a new sponsor, and so we got new production elements and all that fun stuff. And we went with a female voice, like a Roger Rabbit sort of thing. Have you seen Roger Rabbit?
Did you know that Roger Rabbit was initially a Disney creation and it was stolen from him?
My understanding is Walt Disney has stole just about everything that he has. But anyway.
Well, no, he took stuff from public domain. And the funny thing is the Disney company now is fighting Mickey Mouse being put in the public domain. But it's like, bro, all of your movies are like stuff that you took advantage of the public domain. And so
I know. And they flipped the laws in the Orlando area so they could build that abomination. I had a friend who went to Disney World. Have you gone to Disney World?
Yeah, I've been to Disney World.
Holy sweet Lord, that place is the saddest place on earth. All right. I hate Disney World. I mean, because I like the big roller coasters and everything's tailored to kids, right? Because you want the kids to be able to ride the Grand Canyon ride and not freak out, and I've been there with 6 and 8 year olds. And I will tell you this, the only time I've ever been offended as a middle-aged white Southern man?
When?
Okay, we're at Disney World. It starts raining. We go in the good old country show or whatever it's called. And it was a bunch of bears and a bunch of animals. And this is how they talk. We're going to go down and we're going to do this. And yeah, cousin Bud. And I literally sat there, Caleb, and was offended as a middle-aged white Southern man. I was like, we are not stupid in the South. And it was the first time in my life that I almost complained about being offended, that I thought, you're a middle-aged white man. You just need to take it.
Also, think about how the black people feel when they go there, when they have to hear the crows from Dumbo. Have you heard the way they talk?
No.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh,
it's bad. It's like stereotypical 1940s. Like, and the crow's name in Dumbo was Jim the Crow. Like Jim Crow style. Like,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to take a vacation, you want to take a roller coaster vacation, go to Ohio. I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do that with my kids this summer. You go to Kings Island, you go to all those places.
Orlando Disney World is so geared towards kids that Notre Dame and Penn State should have played there. Okay, sorry. Bad joke.
All right, stat of the day. What do you got, Caleb? Our stat of the day today is brought to you by our friends at the UPS store, Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses. Wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. The link right down below. They'll take care of you. Stat of the day, Caleb.
This one's going to blow Dave's mind because, as you guys all remember, in the all season, Dave was like, "Don't connect to Diamond Dozen. Tennessee's not going to be able to replace you."
Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of the voices in general, but at least will you do the voices where I can understand what you're saying? Because I literally did not. I heard a Dalton maybe, but I didn't understand any of the rest.
Dave said, Dalton connects a dime a dozen. It's not a dime a dozen.
Okay.
Tennessee's not going to be able to replace him.
Okay.
Nobody on this team is
Give
going
me
to
your
be
okay. Give me your stupid stat of the day. You've made your point.
In 2007-2008, Chris Lofton set the Tennessee school three-point shooting record with 118 threes made a game in the season. Through 14 games that year, he had 42 threes. Chaz Lanier, through 14 games, Dave, has made 56 threes. Is lapping Chris Lofton right now. He's averaging 4 threes a game. And here's the crazier part. That year, Lofton shot 30.4% from three. Lanier right now, 46.7%. Lanier may actually be the best three-point shooter in Tennessee history in a school that had Chris Lofton. He has replaced Dalton Connect.
Okay. All right. Dalton Connect going on to be an NBA star, but that's time.
Who is playing better? Chaz Lanier right now or Dalton Connect last year? It's not close right now, by the way. Are you going to admit you were wrong?
I'm not quite there yet. Stat of the day brought to you in part in part by good friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas. All you have to do is stop by their location in Athens. I got a T-shirt and or a book for you for free just by saying hello. And if you choose a spa, you get $500 off. Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. Time for Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. And I know where Caleb's going to go on this one, and I'm afraid he's a little bit crazy, but that's okay. Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. CBTN.com, CBTN.com. Caleb, Tennessee's basketball team this season is better than they were last year. Will you bank on it?
Yes.
And I'm going to give you an out. Can I give you an out?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, let's say they get a bad draw and they don't make the Elite Eight. I'm not going to judge you on that. You see what I'm saying? Because basketball is basketball. You know, you could get a bad draw and face the hottest team in the nation in the second round and get bounced. So I'm not judging you on that. This is an eyeball thing. Is this team right now as good as Tennessee's basketball team January the 6th this time last year, and will it end up being better? Bank on it, yay or nay?
Yay, yay, and yay.
Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Why? Caleb explains.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
All right, Caleb, I can't roll with you, man. I think Dalton Connect's too good, but I will give you some kudos in that this team is already better than I thought it would be. The question is just, do they continue to develop? What have been your early impressions in this team now that we're into SEC play? And we'll talk specifically about the Arkansas game and beating John Calipari, which is always nice.
Yeah. Well, let's actually we'll break down the Arkansas game here, and then we can get to John Calipari in a second, because that was proof that they were better, because there was a big difference in that game. One, Chaz Lanier was Chaz Lanier. He was 5 of 9 from 3 because he's the best three-point shooter in Tennessee basketball history. He's better than Chris Lofton was from 3. He's better than Allen Houston was from 3, and he's better than Dale Ellis was from 3. Dale Ellis didn't even shoot threes when he was at Tennessee.
No, that's true.
So he's a better shooter than all three of those guys. There's that. There's also the fact that Tennessee actually has some dogs underneath the basket now. And I don't know if you watched the game on Saturday, Dave, but
oh yeah, it's my job. It's my job.
This used to not be our policy, but it's the NIL age. So in the NIL age, we're allowed to do this. Tennessee is glad to be without Jonas Adu.
That's okay. That's what I was going to say, and you beat me to it to kind of support your point. Felix Okpara, I hope I'm pronouncing his name. I struggle with his name. That's a better inside presence than Jonas Adu. And I don't care if Jonas Adu averages 26 points a game for Arkansas. Tennessee's not hurting for scoring. Tennessee needs that defensive presence, and that's what undermined them last year. So, to me, if you had to choose between one player that best fits this team, you might like Adu for another team. And he might be a better fit with Calipari or whoever. But for this, I'll take Felix over Jonas any day of the week.
Oh, you're being nice. I'll take it a step further. Felix has a scintilla of mental toughness in him. Jonas Adu is the mentally weakest player to have ever played for Rick Barnes. And you saw that with Arkansas. Why did Tennessee lose to Purdue last year? Because Jonas Adu shrunk beneath the pressure of trying to contain Zach Edey.
In all fairness, we're talking about a two-time college basketball player of the year.
Yes, but Jonas Adu got rattled so much he missed. Here's the point about these defensive presences you talk about at center. They still got to be able to make point-blank looks at the rim, right, when they're open. That's rule number one. You got it. He missed 4 last year in the Elite Eight because he was so rattled. Then he goes and plays Tennessee on Saturday. All the pressure's there, right? He's going back to Knoxville. He's going back to Thompson Bowling. All the team players he just left. And he's getting booed every time he touches the ball. Dave, he got wrecked. And I mean mentally got wrecked. He got sent to the free throw line early. Within 4 minutes into the game, missed both free throws. He was mentally out of it. Igor Milicic Jr., had one of the highest rebounding games in Tennessee history, had 18 rebounds. Tennessee won that game because they dominated the offensive glass. Why? Jonas Adu was getting beaten down low on the glass. He shouldn't be getting beaten like that, by the way. Physically, I think you will agree with me. Physically, Jonas Adu is as gifted as Felix Opera or Igor Milicic, right?
Yes.
But they were working the heck out of him because he was not mentally there. This is why Tennessee's better. They have more mentally tough inside players this year. Now, Toby Awaka, who did transfer, was mentally tough. I give it to him on that. But I think Igor Milicic has that mental toughness, and he's got a finesse game that I think is a little more important in today's college basketball game with spacing.
Well, I'm okay with you would have said something that would have been a keyword before I've seen them play, that he's a finesse player, has a finesse game. I'm fine with a guy having a finesse game as long as you're physical with other players down low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Kevin McHale was finesse, right? But he was physical.
I mean, technically Steph Curry's finesse, right? But Draymond Green righted the wrongs and didn't let anybody push him around. So I'm fine with having 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4 finesse players, just as long. And I go back to that Purdue game. If you're Jonas Adu and you enter that game, Caleb, how do you not know that you're outmatched? And I don't know how much basketball you played, but I played a lot of basketball. In times that I knew I was physically outmatched, do you know what I did?
You cheap shot it. That's what you do. You get in a player's head.
Early, I would try to block a shot and come down. My arm would come down hard. And then it's just like going to prison. Everybody needs to think you're a little crazy.
Yes. And you got to hope you get in the player's head.
And dude, it worked for me. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, probably had at best a 28-inch vertical jump at my best at 18. But I could hang with a lot of players that were better than me because they're like, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I mean, he's just going to foul me if I go low. I don't understand why Jonas Adu didn't go out there and get a flagrant in the first 5 minutes.
Yes, exactly. And here's the thing.
And Rick Barnes shouldn't have to tell him to do that. He should have known that.
He should have known that. And Jonas Adu, you could tell, he looked like he was the one getting cheap shotted the way he was backing away from the basket. He looked like he was the scared one. And you know Zach Edey wasn't cheap shotting him. Jonas Adu was scared of the moment, and he was scared of the moment on Saturday. And this is the truth. This is, by the way, was always the case on Blake Griffin when he was in the NBA. The book on Blake Griffin, for those who don't know, who could have been a Hall of Fame post player, was Cheap Shot Him. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm a big Grizzly fan. Zach Randolph and Blake Griffin had a big rivalry back in the day. Blake Griffin was the athlete. Zach Randolph was the tough, physical down low guy. Zach Randolph would win those battles because Zach, he'd throw an elbow when no one was looking. You know what I mean? He'd bring him to the ground, and it got to a point to where finally in a playoff game when the Grizzlies eliminated the Clippers, Zach Randolph grabbed a part of his region that you don't want to grab, and he shouted the P word at Blake and got thrown out the game, and every Grizzly fan cheered him. It was like, yeah, that's what you do. And this year, Tennessee's got guys that you're not good. One, I don't think you can cheap shot Igor Milicic or Felix Opera. Okay. I don't think you can, because I think they're tough enough to come back. And two, Opera himself can cheap shot back if he's outmatched. And so I'm totally with you. And by the way, the truth is Milicic, he's a finesse player, but here's what people don't, we talk about Polynesian kids in football sometimes. Can I talk about Eastern European kids in basketball a lot of times?
Sure. I know you're big into stereotypes.
People mistake in basketball all the time the finesse of Eastern European kids with thinking they're soft. Those Eastern European kids typically aren't soft. If you actually like go head to head with them, they are like the scariest MFers like in the NBA right now.
Listen,
a lot of times.
Well, yeah, and they played against men a lot of times when they were 16 and 15. I'll take the kid in today's basketball that has the finesse game, like Milo, over a Kevin McHale. Now, if you would have, you remember Kevin McHale, right? The post player.
I don't remember him, but I know of Kevin McHale.
He was the classic. He's going to run up and down the court slow as you can possibly imagine, because he's not very coordinated, and he's taught himself back to the basket moves, and you can dump it into him and you can get two. But nowadays, that is so antiquated. I mean, is there, other than Zach Edey, is there a player you can remember in recent history that you say stands on the block and they dump it into and he creates a bucket? That just doesn't happen.
But I think there could be a resurgence of that because of how much spacing is in the NBA today. There's a market for it. But I like finesse. We're mistaking finesse.
As far as playing style, you would take an Igor. I'm having trouble coming up with one that's in your generation.
Zach Randolph was my generation. Zach Randolph played on the block the whole time.
Okay. You would take the playing style of an Igor over a Zach in today's game, correct? I don't want a guy out there that can't score at all.
Yeah. Generally speaking, you're right. Now, the thing is, though, I think we're mistaking. I think we have to be fair, and I think you would agree. We're mistaking finesse with soft. Igor's finesse. That doesn't mean he's soft. He just has skills, but he can fight. And this is what happened on Saturday. This is why this team is so darn good. They're tough. And also, we're not even pointing this out. Zakai Ziegler just drove it straight on Jonas Adu like 4 times for buckets. Jonas Adu got a foot on Zakai Ziegler, and he's like, I don't care. And here's the real kicker in all this is like the backcourt for Tennessee. Zakai will fight anybody. Zakai is literally like, they may be better than me, but I bet they won't fight me. I mean, yeah. And you love that.
I was told by somebody recently that Zakai basically could run practice.
I've heard that too.
You're talking about a future coach. I mean, he is that ahead of the game mentally. So he's going to see things. He's going to play hard. I don't know every point guard in the nation, but I don't know that there's a team out there that wouldn't say Zakai Ziegler, come on down.
Zakai Ziegler is Tennessee's basketball's Jawan Jennings. That's who he is. By the way,
I still don't. You mentioned Jawan Jennings in such a positive note. I still don't like the storming off social media stuff.
Oh, you stand alone in Vol Nation for this game.
I know
you stand alone. By the way, did you
know.
see Jawan Jennings get thrown out of a game yesterday for excessive blocking?
No, but that's awesome. If I was going to get thrown out of a game for anything, it would be excessive.
He got thrown out. He did. He was like a few yards short of 1,000 yards for the season receiving, and they threw him out of the game because he blocked a player too hard. Like a receiver who blocked a player too hard, they threw him out of the game for that.
Why do I love that? Because I don't kind of like it.
Because Jawan Jennings is awesome.
Yeah.
And by the way, look at San Francisco fans. They love Jawan Jennings. He's their favorite player.
I don't doubt that. City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com. They're going to bring you a brand new feature, hot or cold, coming up. We're excited about that. I do want to encourage you. I had an opportunity. I was in Chattanooga and had an opportunity to stop by the Hemp House and pick up some of their fantastic beverages, and you can check them out. The premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Go to Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off and HOOK for 10% off. And excited to say I have a little appointment with Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. That's on Kingston Pike, and I'll be down there today. We'll have some fantastic prizes to give away. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Also, unfortunately, I have to go see Mr. Neubert at Neubert Collision Center. Unfortunately. But I look forward to seeing Jeff.
Now in its 45th year, The second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, we talked about bat nipples earlier.
Dave, before
I was like, where the hell are you going with this? All right, no bat nipples for the remainder of the program, but a new poll question. Yes.
Before our next topic, can I just change your opinion of Juwan Jennings with just this one clip?
Wait a second. Bat nipples.
Yes, guys, go for our younger viewers, go watch Batman Forever.
Yeah. Caleb knows I've been through a lot lately, so if I'm giddy because life is finally improving, then that's where I am. All right, Caleb, with the clip from Juwan Jennings.
Yes, and you tell me how you cannot love Juwan Jennings. This is what he got thrown out for. Watch him block right here. Watch this.
Here comes off the ball. Bam! Right in the chest, and then he...
No,
Look at
let
this.
it run, let it run, let it run. Okay, he shouldn't have been thrown out for that because the other player got his hand up in his face mask.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they threw him out for the other fault him for that block, and then he got thrown out because he blocked.
The other
him
player
too
was
hard.
damn embarrassed, is what he was, because he got blocked.
He was.
Yeah,
That's exactly what that was.
That's when you run back to the huddle and you pretend that play never happened. The worst thing you do is start a fight. Did the other guy get thrown out too?
Nope, just Juwan.
Oh Lord. I
know.
Does somebody? Is there such a thing? I watched Relentless over the weekend. Have you seen that with Bradley Cooper?
I have not.
So you take this pill and it makes you instantly smarter. That's what officials need. They need to have to take a Relentless pill. Oh, so new poll question. So I love origin stories, but I've seen bat nipples 15 times, and I'm aware that his parents were killed, and I'm aware that he decided to be a vigilante. So nowadays, origin stories when it comes to superheroes are lame, and they're coming out with another Superman. It's not going to be an origin story, but I'm going to see an origin story today. See if you can guess who it is. I'll do an impression. Give me this. The last look by Dr. Skip and Good in Him, Taylor 9. You know who that is?
No, who?
How do you not know who that is? First person on the message board, I'm hooking you up, that can tell me who that is. First person on the message board. It's Limitless. Sorry. First person on the message board, go ahead and tell me, Ooh, I'm doing an impression of. It's a movie. It's right now in the theater. I can't believe you can't get this. Okay. Well, first person, put your email in. I'm going to hook you up with either a Celebrate 98 book, or I'll hook you up with a Off the Hook shirt. So you can get it right there. I can't, either my impression is that bad or that's troubling. All right. Last look brought to you by Doctors Can't. Thank you, Joe Vol 64. Yes, Bob Dylan. All right. So good. Can you put your email in there? Mr. The first one was Ed is 4UT, it looks like. So put your email in there and I'll take advantage of that. All right. So let's go ahead and get to John Calipari. Your thoughts on John Calipari griped about a shoot around. Give me some background on this, Caleb.
So John Calipari in the press, I'll just play the clip for you guys. In the press conference, John Calipari, after losing 76-52 to Tennessee, John Calipari said, talked about them not doing a shoot around as one of the reasons they lost. Here's the clip.
The one thing I would do different in this game, and I all night tossed and turned, we didn't do a shoot around today. And I just felt our body time is noon, pretty early. If I had to do it over again, we would have gone shoot around. Because we had 3 or 4 guys like kind of no-show.
Okay.
Now, okay, John Calipari.
It's not like he wasn't allowed to not. It wasn't allowed to. It's not like he was forbidden to have a shoot around in Thompson Bowling Arena. And Chris, yes, I am okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he just chose not to. But wait, here it gets better. Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio shared a clip of John Calipari in 2022 after Kentucky lost to Tennessee in the SEC tournament game. He said he was upset with himself for not doing a shoot around that day. Well, then why'd you do it again? Sounds like you're just making up reasons you lost.
You know, my theory is on John Calipari, Caleb. My theory is John Calipari feels like he's accomplished everything. I almost feel like the championship at Kentucky was just kind of like a bonus. I think he wanted to be in big games. I think he wanted to win big games. And I think he likes the camaraderie with players. I like being around college athletes. It makes me feel younger. I don't know that he woke up like Bill Belichick and said, I've got to win as many championships as I can. I just don't know that he's ever been wired that way. He's always seemed okay with losing.
I think John Calipari will make up reasons that blame himself for losing that aren't why his team lost, but it makes him sound like he knows what he's doing and he's smarter than you. And here's what I mean by that.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I've told you guys when I was younger, my grandfather had season tickets to Tiger games. Rest in peace. We used to go all the time to Memphis Tiger basketball games when they played at the Pyramid. And so we had John Calipari's first year at Memphis 25 years ago, whenever. This is a common theme for John Calipari dating back to then. I'm just going to tell you a quick one, Dave. Memphis lost a game one time, and there was a player from Memphis named Kelly Wise, who's a very good player, who was horrible from the free throw line that day. Typical John Calipari fashion. John Calipari was interviewed after the game. Here's what he said. Well, I'm the one who screwed this up because I worked with Kelly Wise on free throws before the game, and you're never supposed to work with the player on free throws on game day. I've never heard that rule before in my life. Okay. But a little 12-year-old me thought, oh, that sounds very smart. John Calipari is a really smart person. But now he's like, I made a mistake. I did a shoot around and I shouldn't have done a shoot around. Calipari says these type of things to make you think that something matters that doesn't really matter. Because he wants you to be smarter about the game than he really is.
No, I completely agree with that. But at what point does that get old? It got old with Kentucky, right? They let him go. But if you're Arkansas, if Rick Barnes came out tomorrow and said, we lost this game because we didn't have a shoot around, I'd be like, how damn old are you? It's one thing for, I remember Josh Pastner, who you would remember in Memphis, right?
Yep.
When he first
got the brightest bulb in the box.
Right. When he first got that gig, he made quite a few mistakes. And I was like, that's part of a young coach growing into the role, right? I mean, they hired him because he was going to be such a great recruiter in the Memphis area. So you allow him to grow in that role. That was the theory behind hiring Wade Houston. And we know that didn't work out. But to a guy that's been a head coach for multiple decades to say, my bad, I forgot about the shoot around. That is a little, I mean, if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm like, you don't have your game day preparation down. I mean, have you ever seen the actual printout that they give the players of their game day schedule? It's to the minute. You are to be at the you are to be dressed and out the door at whether it's home or the road. They stay at a hotel. You are to be dressed and ready out the door. You are to be in gear. You are to be. I mean, do they not have that? Is that not?
Of course they have it.
That's bizarre.
I think one, they were playing the number one team in the country. Of course, like you're not fully prepared for the number one team in the country on what you want to do on the road.
I think Caleb, I don't care if you're playing Central High School. It's just hard for me to look in retrospect and say I didn't have a shoot around because the game was early, or I forgot, or I had a big breakfast and I had to go use the restroom. I mean, whatever the reason is, it's just hard for me to swallow. It doesn't matter the reason. It's just hard for me to swallow that that's not your game day routine. I mean, you should have a game day routine. What time are our basketball games? They're either 7 or 8 at night, right? During the week, or they're noon or 4, pretty much.
Yep, and this one was at 1.
Right. Okay. So what? Early afternoon, late afternoon. Okay. Caleb and I could get together on a Zoom call this afternoon and write up what should be your basketball schedule for a 4 o'clock tip, a 1 o'clock tip, and a 7:30 during the week tip. Caleb and I could do that in roughly 10 to 15 minutes after the show. So that if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm like, what have we just hired?
I think this was a built-in excuse. He had this prepared before he lost the game.
I don't doubt at all that he was sitting on the bench thinking, I've got to have a go-to, and we're going to make that go-to no shoot around. I have no doubt.
I think he planned the no shoot around so that would be his go-to.
Well, that's pretty deceptive. I mean,
look, guys, I have to be honest. Okay, Dave, you're a Celtics fan, so you dealt with him. Who's a bigger snake oil salesman, John Calipari or Rick Pitino?
Cut from the same cloth, but Rick Pitino is a good X's and O's guy, so I would definitely say Calipari. Last look brought to you by Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and On.
The first step to better vision is to visit ccteyes.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at CCTI.
So I would say Rick Pitino is a much better coach, wouldn't you?
I would. Rick Pitino, the only thing about Rick Pitino is I would say he's a much better coach. I would. Calipari is, but just Calipari, his accent, the way he talks, he makes you think he's the smartest guy in the room, doesn't he? Like you can be convinced,
yes,
that he's the smartest guy in the room. And he's like, honestly, Calipari would have been a better radio host than a basketball coach.
When I had Calipari on the radio one time, I had to ask about it. I said, so what happened with the Nets? And he said, oh, nothing. They told me it wasn't working. I said, write me a $4.2 million check, and I walked out the door. I was like, hell, if we could only all be fired like that.
I know, right?
Hey, Caleb, would you be okay if I said, Caleb, I'm sorry, I can't use your services anymore. Here's a $4.2 million check. You would manage to move on, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that probably would last me for quite a few years before I figured out what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
Then it'd be off the Caleb.com.
That doesn't sound well.
It doesn't.
Off the Caleb. as opposed to on the Caleb.
Yeah, maybe on the Caleb is the way to go.
I mean, well, Calipari is and Caleb. You know, I could get a show with Calipari, Caleb and Calipari, the Cals.
Yeah, Four Downs brought to you by Joe Neubert Collision Center. For nearly 50 years, Neubert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. Four Downs talking some Lady Vols. We're going to go a little bit long. A lot to talk about on the program today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Greatly appreciate that.
4 downs, 4 questions, 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show. 4 downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Yeah, talking some Lady Vols over the weekend. Caleb has been very high on this program, and he needs to get Hound Robotussin because the coughing's brutal.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe. Coop here. First down.
First down. This Lady Vols team is blank compared to where I thought they would be in the preseason.
Great.
I was going to go with better, significantly better.
Significantly better. Significantly better. If you remember John Adams, our own John Adams didn't even have them build as an NCAA tournament caliber team. I had them as an NCAA tournament caliber team that needed to wait for Caldwell's recruits to get in before they could get where they needed to go. Coming off an 87-86 loss to Oklahoma, they still need recruits to get to where they're going to go, where they're willing to go. But they are much better. I mean, this team is very talented.
Yeah, one down, Coop. Oh.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Tennessee's most important player is.
Started with Talasia Cooper. Man, I'm going Jewel Spear now. Jewel Spear is having Chaz Lanier run with the way she's been shooting recently.
All right, I like that. What down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Tennessee's most unsung hero, the dirty work person, the non-Jonas Adu, is.
Ooh, the non-Jonas Adu for the person who does what Jonas Adu should be doing is what you're really saying.
Just tag Jonas Adu so you can watch us tear him apart. All right, go ahead.
Well, the dirty work person is one of their best players though, so I can't say like that because she's Talasia Cooper. Still, I mean, she's out here averaging 3.5 steals, a block a game.
Give me an X. Okay, let me change it. Give me an X factor player. Who's somebody?
Z Spearman.
Okay.
Z Spearman, when she's on, it's a big deal.
When she's on, it's tough to beat. Okay, so now
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Lady Vols play makes me think they will do this in the women's basketball tournament.
Push for the Elite Eight.
But you're saying Sweet 16.
I'm saying Sweet 16. And I want to analyze this loss Saturday or Sunday to Oklahoma because for those who don't know, Tennessee was trailing by 19 in the third quarter, came back, lost by 1. They had a chance to win it in the end, and Sarah Puckett missed a wide open 3. People are mad about the shot. But, Dave, I think you know this following the NBA. I know if you're down by 1 and you only need 2 to win, it's one thing. But, like, if you're wide open, if you got a wide open look from 3, you got to take it if you're a three-point shooter, right?
Yep.
Like, you got to shoot that. And they left her wide open. She took the shot. She missed it. It happens sometimes. But I think one of the issues with Tennessee is that we're seeing when they're not forcing turnovers, their half-court defense is an issue. So they're not good at playing straight up, just forcing a missed shot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's probably a size issue, isn't it?
No, they got the size. They got the size and athleticism. It's the way they're coached to play. They all play like Allen Iverson did back in the day, where they all just go straight in for the passing lanes, pretty much. And they're willing to get beat if it happens. And
Vincent Yarbrough was the worst I ever saw do that. I think he led the team in steals. I don't know that he played a lick of defense the entire year. All he did is drop in the passing lanes.
Yeah, that's what they have. She has all her players doing. By the way, when you have size and athleticism, it works because it generates a lot of turnovers. But they've got to be able to have a little bit more of a cohesive half-court defense on the other end, because that was an issue in yesterday's game. Now, again, here's the question. Is that ever going to be a thing? Because Kim Caldwell may not, her philosophy may just be, no, we're just going to go for the steals. And if we don't get them, then they got us. I think she hopes to be able to outscore teams more. There was a lot of high scoring yesterday, but when they're not hitting their threes, they're off because they were only 10 of 36 from 3 yesterday. I think that's where the recruiting is going to come into play. You have 3 or 4 players coming in that are all athletes who can shoot very well from outside. So I think her philosophy is play the passing lanes, play insanely aggressive. And if you got enough 40% three-point shooters, then no matter what, you're always going to be on shooting from 3.
Well, it's a basketball team that is a little bit better in 2 areas than I thought they would. And together, that has me with the same expectations that you mentioned, which is pushing for the Elite 8. I think their talent is a little bit better than I thought. Tell me if you disagree with that. And I think Kim Caldwell, while I thought they just got what they could, and instead of going out and making a big-time, big-name hire, I think she's a little bit better than I thought. So I think it's across the board. I don't think it's a situation where one player has come out and is suddenly All-American. I just think across the board is a little bit better. I wonder if moving forward, Caleb, with this style of play, does Tennessee have to win one of those lottery top recruiting battles where you get a Candace Parker, a Maya Moore, or is the game and Kim Caldwell beyond that? I'm not saying you turn down a blue chip player, but do you have to have one of the preeminent prospects? And usually they were number 1 and there was a fall off. Nowadays it's a little closer. You know, you got Caitlin Clarks and stuff like that. But do you think they have to get that blue chip elite player to win a championship in Kim Caldwell's system? Or do you feel like that they can do it with a collection of very good players?
I think the collection of very good players is what they have to have, because I think given the tempo Kim Caldwell runs, I don't think a blue chip elite player can, this is kind of weird to say, Dave, but like they're not really going to reach everything they may want to reach under Kim Caldwell because she's going to have to rotate so much. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, okay, when you go play for South Carolina and Dawn Saylor, Pat Summitt back in the day, if you're that blue chip elite player, you're playing 35 minutes a game, right?
Yes.
Pretty much. Nobody can. Kim Caldwell wants to get to a point where nobody's playing more than 30 minutes in this system. And so no matter how good you are, there's somewhat of a ceiling. That's always kind of the flaw with system teams in basketball. It was the same. Do you remember Bruce Pearl back in the day? Like, okay, 05-06 with Chris Lofton, Juwan Smith, he has a top 10 program. 4 years later, he gets Scotty Hobson, a 5-star, and really kind of has the same type of program because his system is all about going so deep. Nobody could ever stand out as like an NBA lottery pick, pretty much. And I think that's kind of what Kim Caldwell is running at Tennessee. The question is with Kim Caldwell is going to be this. Is it just the system, or will she be able to do what Bruce Pearl has been able to do, which is adjust as maybe more SEC teams adjust to what she runs in the next 4 years?
I didn't think Bruce Pearl did a fantastic job of adjusting after he lost Juwan James and Chris Lofton. And let's be honest.
Juwan Smith,
excuse me. And Chris Lofton. And let's be honest for a second. I mean, I think we underestimated how much talent he had in terms of shooters there. And we saw what Lofton grew into, and he would have been an All-American had it not been for the cancer his senior year. And Juwan was a fantastic shooter. I didn't feel like Bruce Pearl did a great job of transitioning from that group and what they did well to, I guess, the next group would have been the Tyler Smith group.
See, I think that next group actually got more talented. Here's what we underestimated.
Right, I think they got more talent, but I don't think he adjusted to their strengths. Is what I'm trying to.
No, he didn't. He didn't at all. And here's the issue: we didn't necessarily underestimate the talent. What we underestimated was how unprepared the SEC was for Bruce Pearl's style of play when he came in, because nobody was playing tempo in the SEC at that time. It's very similar to, we always bring up Spurrier, how unprepared the SEC was for Spurrier's fun and gun in the 90s. The difference is, as you know, Spurrier was able to adjust on a yearly basis based on what SEC defenses were doing. And I think Pearl struggled somewhat to adjust to a certain degree.
Okay. I'm going to really put you on the spot here. You ready?
Yep.
In 10 years, men and women, we will talk about Tennessee's best coaches, being, of course, Pat Summitt, number one, being Ray Mears, being Bruce Pearl, being Rick Barnes. Will Kim Caldwell in 10 years be in that conversation?
Yes, I think she will. And by the way, Rick Barnes has already surpassed Bruce Pearl and Ray Mears. He's already the best coach in Tennessee basketball history.
I was just taking a collection. Oh, I agree with
Yeah, Rick Barnes is the best basketball coach in Tennessee history.
A record
And
number.
He has surpassed years. Sorry.
Record number of people in the program today. Hit like, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll get Caleb a throat lozenge. The show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. It is banksandjones.com. YouTube, subscribe. Wherever you podcast, subscribe. Leave us a review. Like, do all of that, and we'll join you 10 a.m. weekdays off the Hook Sports.